measurement is crucial, especially getting precise measurements. Most people know how to read a tape measure, but the issue is most people do not know how to measure a tape measure or a ruler with the amount of precision that is necessary. And so this is all about reading measurements with the correct level of precision. And so up here, we're just looking at a zoomed in version of a ruler. You guys probably recognize this side as being inches up here. In science classes, we do not use English system. That includes chemistry. We don't deal with inches, feet, yards, things like that. Instead, what we deal with is the metric system, which you'll kind of learn why we do that in some later lessons. But down here, this is what's measured in what's called centimeters. And what you're seeing here are individual numbers of centimeters. So we're going to focus on how to read the centimeter scale here. Now, on this scale here, the very first thing you should do, regardless of the measurement instrument that you do, is you need to recognize and identify the scale. That is step one. So in other words, I'm going to look at these numbers right here. There's 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So each one of these very large ticks here represents a centimeter. So this is 0 centimeters. This is 1 centimeter, 2 centimeters, so on and so forth. Okay. Then what I need to do is I need to identify what each one of these ticks represent in between the 1 and the 2. And so the way to do that, because they're not labeled, and so the way to do that is you have to count them. And so let's count the number of ticks. Let's start at 1. So we'll start here on the 0, and we're going to count till we get to 1. And so there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And we have 10 marks in between there, okay? So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Perfect. Now, this is actually, I see an issue with this. This is actually a bad ruler to use. You can tell that they have not the correct number of ticks here. But we're going to use the zoomed in version anyways because it's going to help us to kind of explain. But imagine there's 10 there. I notice there's 5 small ones. There shouldn't be. That's a bad picture. But imagine there's 10 ticks there. That means each one of these dots represents 0.1. So that's 0.1. This is 0.2. This is 0.3, so on and so forth. Okay. So now let's talk about actually practicing reading, and fortunately for this, it's just a zoomed out version of this ruler, but the measurements that we're making are not beyond 0.5, so it should be okay. Actually, I have zoomed in down here what the scale should look like. Notice there's 4 tiny ticks in between each big tick. So the big tick in the middle represents 0.5. So what we're going to do is we're going to read the measurements of the green line and the red line. We're going to start with the green line. So step 1, we identified the scale. So we know each one of those little ticks represents 0.1. And then next what I need to do is I need to record the measurement, and I need to get as many numbers that I know 100% for sure. And so the way that I like to think of it is this. Let's say we're talking about the green line. It is definitely, we know for sure, at least 8. It's in between 8 and 9. Okay, that is for certainty. Therefore, this 8 that I'm going to write down is a certain number. I know that for a fact. Okay. Now, by looking at the zoomed in version, I'm going to increase my certainty. I know that it's between this tick and this tick. So in other words, it's in between 8.0 and 8.1. So therefore, I know for certain, let's change the color there. I know for certain that the number is at least 8.0. Okay. Those numbers I know 100% certain. And that's what most people would call this. This is 8.0. However, a correct measurement needs to have at the end of it one uncertain number. And so to get that uncertain number, I look and see, okay, where is that line in between 8.0 and 8.1? To me, it looks like it's about halfway. You could make an argument that maybe it's not quite halfway or a little bit beyond halfway, but to me, it looks about halfway. So I'm going to say it's a 5. So halfway in between 8.0 and 8.1 is 8.05. So therefore, I call that 8.05. And that number right there has uncertainty. And that's okay because that's what we want. And so this reading should be 8.05 centimeters, where the uncertainty comes in the 5. And that what I mean by that is you could look at this and you would get 8.0 definitely, but you might get 8.04, and that's okay. Let's look at this next one. So again, I like to talk about what we know for certain just by looking at this large scale up here. I know that it's in between 10 and 11, okay? And so down here is a zoomed in version of that, 10 and 11. And now I can see that it's in between this mark and this mark. So it looks like it's a little bit beyond that. That'd be 10.4, but not quite 10.5. So therefore, I know with certainty that it is at least 10.4. So now the question is, where's my uncertain number? Well, to me, it looks like it's just a hair beyond, so I would call that 10.41. But you might call it 10.42, and that's okay. Centimeters, with the uncertainty residing in the 1. So overall summary of measurement. 1, identify your scale, just like we did here. Identify what you're looking at, what each tick represents. Step 2, record all the numbers that you know for sure, and then end with one uncertain number.